How did Iran manage to keep its military and economic lifelines alive despite the most aggressive sanctions regime ever built against a single nation? It comes down to the shadow network doctrine Iran's allies live by: survival through proxies. They will literally funnel billions through front companies across dozens of countries just to keep one sanctioned government breathing. The operation started when Washington tightened its maximum pressure campaign, and Tehran's partners quietly stepped forward. This is stage one. Iran's survival network is not random or accidental. It is a precisely engineered system with specific roles assigned to each willing international partner. Russia handles advanced military technology transfers. China absorbs Iranian oil that no Western buyer will legally touch under current sanctions enforcement. But smaller nations complete the network too. Venezuela, Iraq, Syria, and North Korea each contribute specific capabilities that fill critical operational gaps. Look at the map here. This is exactly where Iran's shadow corridors run across 3 continents simultaneously every single day. Western intelligence agencies have tracked these routes for years, but sanctions enforcement agencies consistently struggle to act on real-time financial movement data. Iran's network absorbs every enforcement action Washington delivers. New intermediary companies, banks, and shipping routes emerge within weeks of each sanctions designation landing. Then comes stage 2, the deception game. Iranian oil moves completely invisibly through international waters. Ship-to-ship transfers disguise cargo origin, destination, and vessel ownership from satellite and maritime tracking systems. Venezuelan ports have processed Iranian oil shipments flagged under third-country vessel identities. Iraqi financial channels simultaneously move Iranian money through domestic-looking transactions. But how did these transfers escape Western detection for so long? Enforcement agencies tracked patterns for years before real-time interdiction became operationally possible. The deception layer runs deep and wide. Every transfer uses multiple legal jurisdictions, shell companies, and flag of convenience vessels to obscure the true origin. That brings us to stage 3, the ground assault. China is the absolute anchor of Iran's survival network. Without Chinese demand for discounted Iranian crude oil, the entire structure collapses under immediate financial pressure. Beijing purchases Iranian oil at heavily discounted rates. Payments move through intermediary banks in third countries carefully positioned outside direct dollar system exposure and oversight. Chinese state-affiliated companies provide Iran with dual-use technology components. These feed directly into Iranian drone production, missile guidance systems, and military electronics manufacturing programs. Look at the numbers here. This is what industrial-scale sanctions evasion actually produces in real revenue for a heavily sanctioned government. Estimates place Iranian oil revenues at roughly $50 billion annually, despite sanctions designed to reduce them to near zero overall. But Chinese companies maintain formal deniability throughout every transaction. Shell companies registered in low-transparency jurisdictions absorb legal exposure before it reaches Beijing-connected entities. North Korea contributes a completely different capability layer. Pyongyang supplies ballistic missile technology components exchanged through back-channel military delegations, operating in near-total international secrecy. Stage 4, and this is the crazy part, Russia transferred advanced drone technology directly to Iran and then received those exact same drones back as battlefield weapons for Ukraine. The Shahed 136 drone, built using Russian-assisted component supply chains, flew combat missions over Ukrainian cities within months of the original technology transfer completing successfully. This exchange created a closed military feedback loop. Iran gained manufacturing capability while Russia received battlefield-ready munitions without straining its own domestic production capacity. Here comes stage 5. Iraq sits at the center of a financial corridor that Western policymakers cannot close without simultaneously destabilizing a nominal American ally in the region. Iraqi banks operating inside the dollar system have processed billions in transactions, ultimately benefiting Iranian entities, and carefully constructed Iranian front companies worldwide. But this is Iran's network, and it will sacrifice entire financial relationships just to keep the survival corridor breathing through every enforcement wave. The U.S. Treasury has sanctioned multiple Iraqi banks for facilitating Iranian money flows. But new intermediary institutions emerge within weeks of each public enforcement action. Syria provides both territorial access and reliable political cover for Iran. The Assad government hosts IRGC Quds Force units running logistics corridors directly into Lebanon. Venezuela, under Nicolas Maduro, has formalized a strategic partnership with Tehran. Joint oil sales, currency swaps, and coordinated diplomatic resistance define this growing bilateral relationship. But how did all of this actually start? Well, this is how it unfolded. At 0400 hours in January 2020, a U.S. drone strike killed IRGC commander Qasem Soleimani, severing Iran's most experienced network architect overnight. By 0600 in the morning, Iranian government communications had already activated contingency protocols specifically designed for leadership decapitation scenarios planned many years in advance. Soleimani had spent 2 decades personally building these alliances, the financial channels, weapons pipelines, and personal relationships that held the entire network together consistently. At 1200 hours, Khamenei publicly declared the network would continue operating. But privately, Tehran scrambled to replace irreplaceable personal relationships Soleimani had cultivated over decades. Russia entered this partnership from strategic self-interest. Post-2014 Western sanctions gave Moscow direct evasion experience immediately applicable to Iran's growing isolation problem. At 1800 hours following the 2022 Ukraine invasion, Russian and Iranian interests formally converged around shared sanctions evasion infrastructure, technology transfer networks, and dollar system hostility. China's involvement predates everything. Beijing signed a 25-year cooperation agreement with Tehran in 2021, committing an estimated $400 billion across multiple sectors. But that agreement has moved slower than publicly announced. Implementation stays selective, quiet, and deliberately below the threshold, triggering secondary sanctions against Chinese financial institutions. Just as Biden tightened enforcement in 2023, Iranian oil exports reached a 6-year high, demonstrating the network's resilience against intensified international pressure. North Korea's relationship with Iran runs through the Korean People's Army Missile Guidance Bureau, exchanging ballistic missile and propulsion designs in direct UN violation. At 2200 hours following October 7, 2023, Iran's proxy network activated simultaneously. Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthi forces, and Iraqi militias all moving in coordination. But the network came at a cost. Iranian support for Houthi Red Sea attacks triggered direct US and UK military strikes against Yemen's operational infrastructure. Just when it seemed like Iran's proxy architecture was untouchable, Israeli strikes on Iranian soil in April 2024 exposed critical gaps in its defensive depth. Houthi forces equipped with Iranian-designed Shahed drones and anti-ship ballistic missiles disrupted global shipping lanes enough to force massive insurance premium surges worldwide. But what happens when Iran's proxies operate with greater autonomy than Tehran can reliably direct? Intelligence assessments confirm this escalation risk is rapidly growing. Hezbollah's pre-2023 arsenal held an estimated 150,000 projectiles, every one built through 40 years of uninterrupted Iranian logistical and financial support. Just as Hezbollah's arsenal peaked in 2024, Israeli military operations in Lebanon significantly degraded its precision missile inventory and eliminated multiple senior command figures simultaneously. Venezuela gives Iran an Atlantic-facing node outside Middle Eastern geography, allowing Iranian financial and intelligence operations to penetrate Latin American spaces with reduced detection. At 0300 hours across coordinated treasury actions in 2023 and 2024, the U.S. sanctioned over 400 entities connected to Iranian oil procurement networks. But secondary enforcement against Chinese and Russian entities stayed deliberately limited. Washington avoided broader confrontation, even knowing these actors anchored Iran's entire survival network. Syria's Al-Bukamal crossing is the primary node connecting Iranian logistics to Hezbollah supply chains. Israeli strikes have targeted it repeatedly without achieving sustained operational disruption. Iran's IRGC Navy, built around fast attack vessels and Strait of Hormuz mine-laying capabilities, remains the ultimate enforcement mechanism behind every Tehran diplomatic position. Just as international pressure mounted in 2025, Iranian uranium enrichment reached 60% purity, giving Tehran leverage its network of allies quietly shields internationally. The network absorbs each enforcement action, Financial corridors reroute automatically. New intermediaries appear within weeks, redistributing load across redundant pathways built specifically for this purpose. Iran's partners do not help Tehran out of ideology alone. Russia, China, Venezuela, Iraq, and North Korea each extract direct strategic or financial benefit consistently. But the survival network has limits that are becoming visible under sustained military and financial pressure applied simultaneously from multiple directions across the region. Proxy losses in Lebanon and Gaza, combined with direct strikes on Iranian soil, forced Tehran to recalculate the true cost of its forward strategy. The network still functions despite losing key commanders and facing attrition across multiple simultaneous fronts. It runs slower now, more exposed, under unprecedented coordinated pressure. Stripped down, pressured, but operational. As stated, survival through proxies remains Iran's defining and unbreakable national doctrine.